Now they lost it on the 40 acres on campus grounds. We gather round, discussing goals and dreams and life's adventures. The Texas Longhorns, they the talk of the town. High cast sales of the 40 acres, where we dive deep into the game day stories, from touchdowns to heartbreakers. We discuss it all, Texas Longhorns glory. There we gather round each Thursday night, talking sports, it's so alright. From football to basketball, baseball to softball, Tim Wayne and Harry, we cover it all. Sports talk is our passion, our delight. Thursday night at 8:30, we unite. We discuss the scores, the plays, the teams who might. Let's dive into the game, let's ignite.
12 conference champions.
What up, what up, what up? Good evening, good evening. Hello, hello, hello. It is another Thursday night.
I think the mic works, bro. I think the mic works.
Does it work? Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Awesome. Hey, welcome to the Longhorn Fan Battle Podcast. It's your boy Harish with my boy. I did it the right side. My boy Tim Wayne. Tim Wayne, what's going on today, man?
What's going on, man?
Oh, not too bad. Just making sure the mic works because we had some. If y'all don't follow us on the TikTok, by the way, please follow us on TikTok. Somebody
Yeah.
said we had some mic issues. So
Ain't no
we're-
mic issues. They just hating.
okay. Anyway,
Like you
quick
like
message.
fucking with that thing, dude. Leave it alone.
Well, I mean, the cool thing, the cool thing is it's got this little arm. I just haven't really figured out the weighting, so it's like kind of weighted weird. But anyway, but welcome to Longhorn Fan Battle Podcast. Tonight we've got lots to talk about. Rodney Terry blowing double-digit leads. Vic Schaefer wins the Big 12 tournament. I think for the second time because they lose it last year, right, to Iowa State.
Right.
They won it 2 years ago. They won it again. Kind of talk about what their what their outlook looks like. We'll take a look at bracketology, kind of where everyone sits right now, with Selection Sunday being on Sunday. I think I read that Texas women should be a 2 seed.
Right.
I think that's mostly due to USC beating Stanford.
Right.
The schedule. We'll talk about that. And then the men are projected anywhere either a 9 seed most likely or a 10 seed, depending on who you look at. So we'll take a look at that. We'll kind of break it down,
Looking
and,
good.
and we'll see. And we'll see what happens with the men. We'll also talk about NIL updates, things like that. Lots to talk about on the NIL front. I don't have any college football 25 news tonight, so we'll kind of stay off of that tonight and see if anything else pops off. And then we'll get ready for spring practice. Right? I think that's the big thing this week is position battles, who to look out for. Some guys that have already started popping off, according to some folks that are on the grounds, 10 toes down. So yeah, we'll talk about some of this stuff. Before we get started, as always, fanbattlesports.com, where you get the latest and greatest from all the teams in the AFC South. NFL free agency is going crazy. Chris Ballard is still sleeping. Hopefully he wakes up in the next few days and signs players and makes some trades. But you can get the best of the Mayo Eaton Titans.
Right.
Jaguars who can't hold a division lead, kind of like Rodney Terry, can't hold a game. The Texans who are just piling on, and then the Colts who just pay their own and chill out. And of course, check us out, fanbattlesports.com. Also go there if you want to check out, start your own show. We'll provide you with all the assets. As you can see, all the beautiful videos, all the graphics. We'll provide everything for you, everything you need to do to start your own podcast, fanbattlesports.com.
Right.
Also on Twitter at LHFanBattle on Twitter, and we'll see you guys there. Of course, yeah, we'll have a good time. We're we're actually almost at 2,500 followers. So thank you guys. We really appreciate the love and the support. You know, we're still kind of new into the content game, so we're trying to step our games up. But we appreciate you guys supporting us. Another way you can support us: follow us on YouTube. You know, go follow subscribe to the channel. We're live every Thursday night on YouTube, on Twitter. You can comment, you can subscribe, all that good stuff. And we'd really appreciate you guys' continued support there. Of course, also follow us on TikTok, Longhorn Fan Battle on TikTok. We need to make a banner for that. And we put daily videos up on TikTok, whether it be clips from the show, you know, just little clips that we see that, you know, Tim puts together some clips. I know he did a DBU one, you know, last week. We did one on Arch Manning, you know, which various pieces of content so that you always stay up with the latest and greatest around the 40 acres. Tim, I have the same water bottle, man. Pure Life for Life, Sam's edition.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, I saw that. But yeah, follow us on TikTok too. And then, of course, Jay Ward. What's up, my guy? How you doing, man? Jay Ward is slowly becoming a friend of the podcast. Yeah, I know he comments. We interact with Jay Ward a lot. I actually also interact with Jay Ward through Orange Bloods. So Jay Ward, yeah, I talk to Jay Ward all the time on Orange Bloods Live. Really good guys. So hope you're doing well, Jay Ward. Thanks for tuning in and checking us out. We appreciate you. All righty, Tim. Let's start with should we just start with the good pieces of the good? Start with the bad pieces of the Big 12 tournament. Because we're going to talk about both of them.
Let's just get it out the way, dog. Like, let's rip the Band-Aid off. Let me start out by saying I don't think Rodney Terry should be the head coach of the Texas Longhorns next year.
Okay.
I'm
hey, take the mic, man. Take the mic.
I'm done with it. I'm done with the not seeming to have your team under control. I just don't. We know I know we have the talent. We can see it. It's talked about nationally. Like even for Texas to have as many wins as they do, shout out to Coach Square. Let's go, hook 'em, baby. As much as we have the talent, especially from a standpoint of where it's constantly talked about in a positive way, with the amount of losses that we have, like the media, especially the basketball aficionados, still gives Texas all the praise. They're always constantly talking about how, just a couple of things they need to tune up, things like that. I heard Jay Bayless talk about how Texas is great defensively. They just need to piece some things together. Like, I'm over that, bro. Like, I'm over that. Your mic's muted, but I'm over it. I'm done with it. I don't want to that. I thought it was a good hire at first because Terry was coach, an assistant coach for Coach Jesus, what is his name?
Chris Beard. But by the way,
he's doing great. By the way,
no, he's not. They're like 1-6 in their last 7.
Oh well, the last time that I checked,
they started off the season really well, and then they kind of fell off of the cliff.
Right.
Coach Ware, what's good, bro? It is not. Is it technically year 2 because he takes over in December of last year, right? That's when this whole debacle goes down. He coaches the second half of the season. He has the entire offseason. He signs on. He was the interim from December basically to the end of the season last year, right? I think I go back and forth with this Rodney Terry thing, and I know a lot of folks in the fan base are tired of him. They don't want him. There's 2 things. When you lose a guy like Ron Holland, the way he does, who should be your point guard, I get it. It kind of changes the way you do things. My frustrations with there's a couple things that I'll say about Rodney Terry that I feel like are different from other coaching situations that I don't think the Texas fan base has a lot of patience for. Right. Number one, he's an assistant on the team, right? So he knows these guys. He helps recruit these guys. Number 2, when he gets high, he obviously leads us through the rest of last season, gets the team to an Elite 8. Granted, that's a very veteran team. That team was an old team. You lose guys like Timmy Allen. You lose guys like Marcus Carr. That was a 3-4 year starters, kind of basically at every position, right? And if Dylan Dessou doesn't get hurt, I think that's the Final Four team. Heck, I don't know if they beat UConn, but I think they might even be able to see UConn in the national championship game. I don't know, right? That's neither here nor there.
Right.
Secondarily, one of the first things Rodney Terry tells us when he takes over is, guys, I've been here helping implement the culture here. I know the culture. I've already helped instill the culture. I help with recruiting. I know you guys are mad that, upset that Chris Beard's gone, but I helped recruit these guys too. So, Rodney Terry kind of set himself up for failure by setting himself up with high expectations to begin with, right?
Because they were extremely high.
And you can argue, should they be high? This is the University of Texas. It's not like we have a great basketball program. The Texas basketball program has never been great. They've had good years, but they've never consistently been great.
I would say they had great years. Even with the loss, the early spanking to Marquette, like people are still like, yo, you can't overlook this team. So, in my opinion, and Perry exposed them last night from Kansas State. Anybody with a great guard, and I said this last week, anybody with a half decent guard
is gonna torch them.
Is gonna smoke them, and it just became true. Dude, there was such a Perry came down. I can't remember what part was this. I think it was like the second half, right? Perry comes down from the top of the key, drops the dime off to the. I mean, literally over Dessou's outside shoulder, literally just kind of tosses it over, and Dessou, he's like 7 foot almost. It seems like
6'10", 6'9", yeah.
With shoes on, he's like 7 foot, bro. He like kind of tosses the ball over his shoulder, and the center gets the ball, bangs it on, and I'm just like, This has gone on for way too long. And again, the turnovers are crazy high.
They turned the ball over
Why can't you play under control?
Yeah.
Why can't you have any discipline? Why do y'all have to run the court so fast? And I get it. Y'all are athletic. Everybody on the team is athletic. Everybody on the team.
But I thought what really separated this is my problem with Rodney Terry is in the first half use their athleticism to their advantage, right? And I thought their athleticism in the first half was excellent.
It was great.
First half was great. My problem was Kansas State adjusted and Rodney Terry didn't. Rodney Terry's adjustment to Kansas State, essentially driving the lane. And I think the other problem is Dylan Dessou gets an early foul trouble. Dylan Dessou ends up fouling out. Dylan Dessou he sits out basically the last 3 to 4 minutes of the first half.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Texas still goes in the half up 10. And then he gets a quick foul in the Dylan Dessou really never gets into this game, right? I think that's the problem. As your second main scorer, he really never gets into your game. And Dylan Mitchell, I thought, was excellent in the first half. Tyrese Hunter is, he disappeared, which Tyrese Hunter does because that's what he does. He put up 30 on Saturday against Oklahoma. He put up a dud yesterday. And I think part of the problem is they don't have that third guy consistently, right? Mm-hmm. They have somebody, but they don't have a third guy consistently that can help offset when Dessou's not in the game, right? Mm-hmm. The other problem, Texas only has 7 turnovers yesterday. They actually didn't do bad turning the ball over. The problem is they go too fast. Max Abmas probably has a 2 or 3 minute stretch where he takes terrible shots.
That's why
I love Max Abmas. So bad. But his shot selection to start that second half was atrocious. And you just can't do that. And I think that's on Rodney Terry. That is on Rodney Terry to be able to say, look, guys, I need Max to be point guard Max, not shooter Max. You're up 10. There's no rush to go up and try to.
Why are you jacking up 3-point shots from like half court? What
it just didn't make sense. There was the possession where Max Abmas comes down the court, I believe, and tries to shoot it from like almost the logo.
Right.
And he does that a lot. And I get that he's a shooter. That makes sense. And that's is furthermore the reason why this team needs to have a true point guard, a Marcus Smart type guy that can really help slow this game down when you need to, and they just don't have that this year. And I think that's where they ran into a lot of issues, and I just don't think Rodney Terry adjusts a little bit. He's probably going to get a year or two. He needs to bring in a true point guard.
He's got to bring in a true point guard. He's got to bring in. I think he's got to get a true point guard in there, and I think he's definitely got to get a shooting guard in there. You have to get those two, especially having that point guard. That point guard is like pivotal, and preferably, and it doesn't have to be the most athletic point guard. I'm not asking for Allen Iverson, but I'm just asking for somebody that can distribute the ball, somebody that can control the pace on the game. Just kind of smooth the ship. Like nobody seemed settled last night. Everybody was antsy.
Everybody seems settled. And when you have guys like Tyrese Maxey who wants to run up and down the court every time he gets the ball and try to lay the ball up and Euro step against triple teams, it doesn't really help. I've kind of waited too many times this year where Tyrese Maxey does that. But they're up 10. They end up losing the game by 4. At one point, Kansas goes on a 16-4 run to start that second half. And Texas goes 3 for 22 in the second half shooting. That just can't happen. Listen, Kansas State is not a good team. They were a bubble team. They are a team that basically, if they lose yesterday, their tournament shot. I thought a pivotal play late in the game was the flagrant foul called on Kendall Hunter, where he goes goes for the dive on the steal, kind of like tries to steal the ball by anticipation. Kind of wrapped himself around the guy's knee. Is it a flagrant foul? But that I thought that was kind of iffy. That was kind of lame. That ends up being honestly that really ends up taking them out of the game because they get 2 shots and they got the ball.
Is
right,
it
which was also a foul. So they essentially got 4 free throws in a row. Right? You just foul them at the minimum. You're only down 3 and you have a shot to tie the game.
Is it not a Longhorn game if players are not diving for balls all on the floor and trying to pick up loose balls because they can't dribble? Or they don't they dribble and run right into traffic, like you said, trying to do Euro steps. I don't know. It just seems really undisciplined. And
it is. I think it is.
And so when you have that much talent, and we could clearly see it because we just talked about there's like multiple games where they've won these big leads, not small leads. These are like double-digit leads. And like you get out, you start doing you start out great, you start out hot, and then it just kind of collapses. Whether it's lackadaisical play or just not taking poor shot selection, like as a coach who's been there for multiple years, like how do you not go in and say, hey, you guys can't take these shots? Like if we're up by 10, just take the 2. Let's slow the game down. Let's take our time. Let's make better choices and go from there. Now, if you get an opportunity to run and get out there on a break, cool. If you have the opportunity, I think too many times Texas, especially during a turnover, they just go, they book it. And it's like you can't do that all the time, especially with these great and older teams that you're running into that know how to get back on defense and that are disciplined. Kansas State didn't do anything super special last night.
They're not a good basketball team.
But
Houston's great defensively, right? I can at least give Houston that, right? Houston forced Texas to do a lot of silly things, but Houston kind of did twofold, right? They forced Texas to do a lot of bad things, but then Texas also compiled on top of it and just did Texas things, right? So that's a little bit different.
Right.
Kansas State, I don't think they're not a great shooting team. They're a little bit long, but they're not too long. But they've got obviously the point guard who absolutely torched them in the second half.
Went off like literally
different paces, right? He'd slow it down. He sped them up. And then when Texas went to the 3 big lineup, where this is the thing that frustrated me. Rodney Terry went to a 3 big lineup when Kansas State got off to that hot start in the second half.
Right.
He goes Dylan Mitchell, Dylan Dessou, and Keaton Shedrick. And then Dylan Dessou gets his 4th foul.
Take him out.
You cannot put your best player who's already struggling to get into the game, who had 3 fouls in the first half. He should have taken him out in the first half when he had 2.
Yeah.
Those are coaching
like that, especially how hot they started out. Yeah. I know you and I both thought that this was good. In the first half.
I thought things turned around. I was like, oh, they figured it out.
I was like, oh, this is
a tournament team.
This is what we've been asking for. And then it just, I don't know.
Fell off. So Texas ends the season losing 4 double-digit leads this year. Obviously, the most notable one, UCF, when Hornstown became the big issue. They lose a 15-point lead there, and they're losing the game by 6. They lose a double-digit lead to Iowa State. I think they lose a 12-point lead there, end up losing by 5. Obviously, the last game of the season, the second to last game against Baylor last Monday, where they're up 14. Listen, they control the entire game versus Baylor, right? For the most part.
Yeah.
They're up 12-14. Anytime Dylan Dessou is not in the lineup, this team looks lost. And they just don't have another guy that can step up. So they lose that game. They were up by 12-14 in many different parts of the game. They end up losing by 8. And then, of course, on yesterday, they're up 10 at half, end up losing the game by 4. So that's 4 wins. This team should potentially be a 24-win team, which ideally you win those games. Those are big wins that they lose. You lose to Baylor, that's the beating number 11. You lose to Iowa State being 14.
Yep.
And you lose to West Virginia, which they suck. So that's the difference between being an 8 seed
I think West
and 9
Virginia
seed,
might
and they
be.
should be like a 6 or a 7.
Where's West Virginia? Aren't they dead last in the Big 12?
West Virginia won like 3 games this year.
They're dead last.
Yeah, they're dead last. They won 9 games. They went 9-23 this year. So, that's a horrible loss, and that's going to keep them down. We'll see what happens on Sunday with Texas. They are currently projected to be, as of this morning, because now that we're in the tournament, this updates, bracketology updates every day. So as of this morning, Texas is currently projected to be a 9 seed in the Boston bracket, which means they would get a rematch in Connecticut in the second round. So that's what Texas draws, and that's kind of their fault. So this could be Nebraska wins their first game in the Big Ten tournament, so they kind of jumped Texas there. Sup dorks? I assume this is our guy Gabriel. I think you're commenting from the Facebook group, Gabriel, so that it'll show up as Facebook user. But how you doing tonight, man? We're always ready for the SEC. We're not Texas A&M. We don't try to dip conferences when people try to jump down our throats. We're ready.
Man.
But yeah, so Texas is currently projected to be a 9 seed. On the other hand,
shout out to the Lady Longhorns, baby.
Texas women dominate the Big 12 tournament.
Business, dog.
Speaking of Kansas State, they beat Kansas State on Monday. Yeah.
Yep.
And then on Tuesday, they dominate Iowa State.
Right.
Iowa State beats Oklahoma on Monday. And they had that girl, I forgot her name, but she's like
the Samoan.
Yeah, she's like tall.
Yeah.
And she basically dominated most of the Big 12.
And she was hitting threes.
Bro, she was doing everything. She was balling against Oklahoma.
She hit this 3 at the top of the key. It was so nasty.
It was crazy.
But it was icy at the same time, bro. She just she catches the ball and she turns to the basket, one steps it, switch.
Yeah. Listen, it sounds horrible, but you know what? You know why Texas? She ends up with 25 points, right? But Texas wins this game by like 30. So yeah. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, it really didn't mean much.
She balled out.
Texas wins this game 73-53 or 70-53. So they dominate this game.
Yep.
Mostly in the second half. The funny part about this game, there's 2 things about this game that were hilarious. Number one, the reason why they were able to keep her out of the game is because they just kept running up and down and she couldn't keep up.
Right.
Which is what you should be doing. Gas her out, get her out of the game because their backup's not very good.
Right.
Right. Number 2, there's this one play she makes in the second half where they're down 18 or 17, and she hits this N1 over Aaliyah Moore.
Mm-hmm.
She celebrates the hell out of it. Listen, you get an N1, it's exciting, but I'm like, bro, there's 5 minutes left and you're down by 17. What are we really celebrating here? So I thought that was funny. But Addison Booker was unreal in this game. 26 points, 6 rebounds.
They dominated. They dominated. They looked great.
They just completely dominate. Yeah, no, beware. You're right. I'm a Longhorn fan, but when have the man ever been consistently good or won anything? Never. They've been to this team. Listen, the men's program is not an elite program. I don't know. It's probably not even subpar. It is highly inconsistent. It is a below average program.
Bro.
Listen, I'll call it what it is. Until last year, when's the last time the men did anything relevant? 2004?
No, I mean they've had years where they've been good, great.
So they're a subpar program.
So yeah, the subparness is it's on a wave.
I can't remember the last time the men put together 2 back-to-back good seasons. Can't remember. Can't tell you.
Me neither.
Yeah, but the women be called now. Listen, this low key could be a national title. Yeah, Durant was 2008, 9.
No, that was 1 year. He was only here 1 year.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Until last year, it'd been 15 years since they did anything, and before then, it'd been 6. TJ Ford when they go to the Final Four.
Man.
So, but yeah, the women have always been cold. And Madison Booker. Speaking of players that are cold, Madison Booker is a baller. She's only a freshman, obviously.
Right.
Big 12 Player of the Year, Big 12 All Freshman Team, all first team Big 12. Madison Booker is a baller.
Yeah.
So Texas dominates Iowa State 70-53. The score doesn't really tell you how badly Texas dominates that game.
No, it doesn't.
And one player that I thought played really well in this game was Aaliyah Moore.
He looked great.
Also, Shea Gonzalez. Shout out to Shea Gonzalez. She does not get enough love for what she does. You talk about a point guard that can control a game. Shea Gonzalez can control the game, and she really controlled this game. Like she has the ability to shoot when she needs to. She has the ability to get the girls around her in the right spot to score. But Shea Gonzalez is an absolute baller. She gets overlooked because there's so much talent on this team. Aaliyah Moore, 14 points, 6 rebounds. Yeah, 6 rebounds. She was a beast down in the paint.
Booker had 26.
Yeah, Booker had 26 and 8.
Easy 26.
It's 26 and 6.
I couldn't tell where it came from, but it was easy.
But here's the one thing that I think is the difference between the men's team and the women's team. The women's team just never seems satisfied, right? And that starts with Vic Schaefer. Vic Schaefer, bro, the women can come out and win a game by 10, and Vic Schaefer will go to the press conference and be like, bro, they suck. They lucky they won that game. I was like, oh, dang, they just literally won by like 30. Like, what are you talking about?
Absolutely.
Like, that is. Chill out. Sorry, that's my dog. That's Hey. That's literally the difference between the men and the women's team. Is there's no accountability. There's no
that team seems to be together and legit and cohesive, and they seem to like really
they want to win and they want to play for each other.
I'm just seeing this from afar, right? Just like we're fans, right? We're just watching. We're just outside. Yeah. We're on the outside looking in. We don't have no intel on this, but what we do see is we do see a cohesive team. We see a team that goes to bat for each other. We see a team that likes to get down and dirty. Everybody had rebounds yesterday. Everybody had
our 30 rebounds as a team.
Right. Everybody likes to get the rebounds. Everybody likes to get assists. Everybody likes to play defense. Like it just I love watching this women's team play defense. And quite honestly, the men's team, they've had moments where they play excellent defense. Yeah.
But they've also had moments where everybody looks like Luka Doncic.
Yeah.
Like literally. I love Luka, like no joke.
Ole, let them go by. Anyway, shout out to them.
They do a little swipe and then they like go back so the other team get that's what they do sometimes.
Yeah.
Anyway,
shout out to them.
This is probably going to be a Final Four team.
You think so?
See. Bro, I think it's going to be a Final Four team.
So I want to ask so bad, but we'll wait till next week. We'll wait till next week because I want to know who's in your women's Final Four.
Oh yeah, my women's Final Four is going to be stacked. I'm actually very excited to watch the women's tournament, more so than the men's tournament. The women's tournament is going to be lit this year.
I would not be surprised.
It's going to be so good
if the men's team loses in the first round.
I won't be surprised either. I don't think. But here's the thing: I also won't be surprised if they win like 2 or 3 games. That's the wild part about this team.
If they win more than 3 games, if they get up there and start playing like they know they can, that's gonna make me angry. That's also gonna save Rodney Terry's behind because you know how like people always talk about like, oh, it doesn't matter what record Tom Izzo has at Michigan State. As long as he gets to the tournament, he's going to perform.
Oh, he's going to roll. But it also goes to show, man, the nitty-gritty of the Big 12 really helps them through the tournament because that Big 12 is tough.
Do I
Kansas had 7 losses in the conference this year.
This is, I mean, to be fair, and I'm not just saying this.
They were missing their best, but they were missing their best player.
They're missing their best player, but the Big 12 is literally the best conference in the league.
It's not even close, honestly.
Like, I don't know any, like, they literally have teams that have double-digit losses, and probably about 8 to 10 of those teams are going to get in.
I think they right now they have the split at now. I mean, because I don't know, but they have the ACC with 9, SEC with 8, Big Ten. Oh wait, this is women's. I'm just kidding.
Okay.
On the men's side, they have the Big 12 has 9 teams.
See,
the SEC has 7.
It's literally the best. It's literally the best league. These guys sit up, I'm not saying that just from a Texas perspective. Like, I've literally watched Oklahoma and Baylor go at it and battle to the last second. Kansas State, that was a great matchup.
Bro, Kansas lost to West Virginia. Like, let's be honest with ourselves. Houston's only loss was to UCF.
UCF no joke. You can't. That's another thing. You can't just walk into UCF and think you finna just get a dub. That ain't happening.
Houston wins the Big 12. They lose 2 games. One to Kansas. Oh no, they lose to TCU and they lose to Iowa State. And Iowa State's the second best team in the Big 12. But regardless of what I'm saying, they lost to TCU, right?
Right.
And TCU's a mid team. Texas beat TCU by 15 or 16.
Yeah.
So again, all the teams in the Big 12 have great wins. All the teams in the Big 12 have bad losses, quote unquote bad losses.
Yeah,
and it's just how deep that league is.
Right, and that's what all the seeding is all about, right? It's all about, hey, what are your good wins, your strength of schedule, and what are your bad losses? That's one of the main things that they always focus on, especially around seeding and where things are going to happen. So it's going to be interesting. I think definitely next week we could go more in depth on who we have in the Final Four. I definitely have. I can tell you right now, the men's. I'm not going to I'm not going to spoil the surprise of who I have in there. But I definitely
actually, you should, because by the next time we're live, the tournament would have already started.
All right, cool. So I don't
because the tournament starts next Thursday, and we don't come on until Thursday night.
Okay. So here's the thing: I'll upload it to Twitter on who I have as the Final Four team. We can both upload our things, but who I have as a dark horse, and one of my brackets, I just don't see them losing like this. Baylor.
Baylor's the same way, dude. They're scrappy, but then they can go on. Listen, Baylor, except for the year that they won they won the whole thing. Mm-hmm. Baylor has not performed well in the tournament.
No, they have not. But just
I don't like Baylor, Purdue.
Based on the bracket that they have out right now, I mean, I'm looking at. I'm like, bro, there's no way. I don't see Baylor.
So Baylor is currently projected to be a 6 seed. My God,
bro, they're in the top 15.
Oh no! This is the women's. In the men's, they are projected to be a 3 seed in the West region, which is Tennessee's region.
I think they can beat
Toledo, St. Mary's.
St. Mary's will be
their toughest road might be Arizona. I don't even know how good Arizona is.
I mean, Arizona put Bronny away last night.
I mean, I think Bronny needs a year, dude. That dude needs. I mean, everything that he had to go through this offseason, I don't really think he had a real offseason.
No,
I'm not off the Bronny bandwagon. Listen,
me neither.
His dad is going to play until he's 60 at a very high level, bro. That dude's going to be ready next year. Like, that dude's going to be ready. So I'm not worried about that yet. Yeah, Baylor's interesting. So who do you have in your men's?
That's what I have in my men's. I'm gonna say it.
So you're just gonna give one of your teams.
One of my teams that I've looked at so far is Baylor. Based on projections, I really don't want to do anything until until it comes out. The full thing comes
I
out.
tell you what, we will maybe on sometime before Thursday. We'll jump on and just do a
We could just
double
talk about
tournament.
why we have our teams up, and if anybody wants to participate, maybe we could throw up like a little
We
bracket.
can throw up a March Madness bracket. We'll throw up a March Madness bracket. Jump in. We'll give the winner like a $30 gift card or something. Yeah, let's do it. Okay. So I will tell you right now, the team that I really like, also a Big 12 team,
Houston,
Iowa State.
Oh,
I love Iowa State. Yo,
Okay.
Iowa State, but Iowa State is again one of those teams that like tripped themselves up in the tournament. This is a very good Iowa State team.
Iowa State ain't
I
gonna go.
think the difference between this team and the team that in the last few years is they bucket you with the three, bro. They will shoot you out of the gym, man.
Thank you, Hitch. I remember watching Texas just get buried in threes. We tried to keep up, and we couldn't do it.
They're currently projected a 3 seed with Marquette, Florida, who's a dangerous team. A lot of teams like Florida.
Right.
James Madison. I think that's going to be their toughest. I watched James Madison play the other day. They're really good.
James Madison, James Madison don't get no love because they don't play. James Madison games don't get played until like 10, 11 o'clock at night, bro. Ain't nobody watching that, dog.
Where is James Madison?
James
Is
Madison
it on the West Coast?
I believe is on the West Coast.
That was like Virginia. Where is James Madison? I thought James Madison was like Virginia or something. Yeah, it's in Virginia. Harrisonburg, Virginia.
There we go. JMU.
Yeah, no,
Anyway,
they just play on ESPN Plus all the time. And I just happened to catch their conference championship game. They're good.
I've never seen a James Madison game.
And they're long.
I've never seen a James Madison game before 8 o'clock at night. Just I don't know if it's a re-air or what. I just know that I see him late at night, and that's when I see him. So
they beat Michigan State earlier this year by 3.
That's impressive.
That's a good team, dude. I think James Madison is really good. And I think they won they won the Sun Belt by they won by 20. Completely dominated Arkansas State. So I like James Madison a lot. That might be tough. Iowa State's toughest matchup, and that happens to be their second round matchup. So I like Iowa State a lot. I don't know if I end up. I don't know if they end up. If I end up picking them, and that's just a team I like a lot. On the women's side, I'm just putting Texas in the Final Four. I think they win. I think they get to the Final
Against who?
Huh?
Against who?
I don't know. We'll find out on Tuesday. But
dog, USC's going to be hard. LSU is going to be hard. South Carolina is going to be hard. Stanford.
They don't play any of those teams. USC is the only team they'll have to play to get there.
USC looks damn good.
Man, Madison Booker gonna put their player in a box.
Okay. I hope so, man.
Nick Schaefer gonna yell at him, and they're gonna win that game too. Nah, give me Texas in the Final Four, man. I ain't trying to mess with you, Tim Wayne. Give me Texas in the Final Four.
Shout out to Coach Carter. I love you.
Shout out to my homerness.
Love Coach Carter, man. Shout out to Coach Carter.
I love Coach Carter too, but I also love Texas in the Final Four.
She's the assistant coach at the University of Texas. What are you talking about?
Oh, you know what I was thinking when you said Coach Carter?
You talking about Coach Carter, Samuel L. Jackson? Man, come on, man.
Listen. This is what Texas should do. Let Coach Carter take over the women, and just switch Nick Schaefer over to the men. Fixed.
I wouldn't be upset with that.
That's what I think they should do. They're not going to, but I think that's what they should do. Anyway, all right, let's get down to football talk. Texas starts spring practice next week. Finally here. 35 days from the spring game.
Yep.
So there are a couple positions that I think there's going to be some battles at. Things we don't know things about. I'm going to bring up the Texas roster real quick. While I do that, huh?
I'm gonna get mine out the way because mine is very simple.
Okay.
Because I know I plan on going to the spring game. And what I plan on doing when I go to the spring game, there's one group that I focused on last year that I was worried about that I'm focused on this year that I'm not necessarily worried about, but my intrigue is I feel like we're gonna be loaded when it comes to the wide receiver position.
Yep.
I feel like we're gonna be loaded when it comes to DBs because we retooled there. We got some.
Did we retool on paper? Did we retool?
We got some new blood coming in. I mean,
on paper, it looks.
Right. Okay. So let me So let me get that out the way. So we looked at on paper with the DBs. My two main focuses, defensive line, specifically the defensive tackles, right? And of course the running backs. What does Jaden Blue look like?
Okay.
What is CB4? My man Baxter, what does Baxter look like? Has he gotten bigger? Have they gotten stronger? What is that going to look like? Again, we know that it's getting hot outside. I don't know about you, but last night it was like 70 something degrees outside.
It was awesome.
Great weather. Weather that you can open your window and let the breeze come in, during the day. So that's what I'm worried about, or I wouldn't say I'm worried about. Those are the positions that I'm intrigued in. I'm intrigued because I definitely want to see how CJ Baxter had a great year for a freshman. And for a freshman to be not the starter, of course, he was asked to step in once Brooks went down. Jaden Blue had major flashes.
Jaden Blue is sick.
Listen, I thinking back over the year, Jaden Blue could have started and we would have been just fine.
I think so too.
Blue, he looked great. And awesome. there were some times where I felt like they should have went back to him.
Yeah.
I definitely felt like the Oklahoma game, Texas should have definitely ran the ball a little bit more because I felt at one point in time, I felt like we were gashing them and we just kind of got away from it. And I don't understand why we did that.
That's the same thing that happened in the Washington game, right? We were gashing Washington. They fumbled the ball a couple times. Sark gets in his head.
Right.
And he's like, I don't want to do that anymore because, when you get it, listen, when you fumble the ball two times in 7 plays, like that's very concerning.
Yeah.
But at some point, he should have went back to it because they were expecting it even less.
Right. And then Washington turns around and gets murked on the ground the next week.
I still think, looking back on it, Michael Penix just had a great game because he
had a phenomenal. Call a spade a spade. Michael Penix was on. He couldn't
balls out.
He balled out. Was there some questionable calls? Absolutely. Was there some questionable calls in the Oklahoma game? Went back and watched that recently. Definitely think there was some questionable calls there, but we don't need to rewind.
Are you trying to tell me that somebody got held in the face mask on the 2-yard line on 4th down?
Yeah, and I also think that there was a targeting that should have definitely been addressed when old boy tried to take Jatavian Sanders' head off.
Yeah.
And they said that Oklahoma was making a statement. That should have been a penalty. I'm trying not to curse. Sorry for cussing.
YouTube, bro. You knew whatever the hell you want.
Yeah, we're past the 8-minute mark, so we're good. So I could drop an F-bomb, but still.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Anyway, those are my two keys. Do I have faith in based on what I've seen in the past? Yes. Again, I just want to see what happens next. Again, everything else around it, I think everything else around is going to be fine. Of course, we can always talk about Quinn. Like, what is Quinn? What happens from year 2 to 3? Normally, that's when you see that maturity kind of step in from a quarterback's perspective. Like, he's starting to, be more confident within his throws. And I think we saw that last year. I do think that as much as we've seen deep balls last year, I do think that there's an opportunity to get better at throwing the deep ball. I don't think
that's the one thing that's missing from Quinn's game. If you his feet, he's got the tendency to get happy a little bit, and he sees ghosts sometimes. He fixes those two things, I think he's going to be unreal.
Yeah. And of course, staying healthy. I definitely think he could, pack on a couple pounds, get a little bit, bigger in the weight room. I think he'll be all right. But yeah, those are my.
Since you mentioned running back, the one guy I'm actually really looking forward to seeing, who's gotten a lot of crazy talk, Jared Gibson.
He has.
That dude looks huge.
I've seen that across Twitter.
People love that guy.
Yeah, I've seen it across.
And that dude is big.
Yeah. Man, now that I think about it, man, I really wish Jonathan Brooks would have came back for one more. I think he would.
There's no chance, Jonathan. Dude, Jonathan Brooks. Jonathan Brooks is still rated the number 1 running back in the draft.
Yeah.
Dude hasn't played in 9 months.
Yeah.
Well, it's actually only been 4, but it feels forever.
Feels like forever. Not watching football, right?
Yeah. But yeah, Jared Gibson is a guy I'm really looking forward to. Talk about the defensive line a little bit. I know interior. And I'm not really worried about the edge. I'm actually kind of like you, more worried about.
Not worried about the edge. I'm not worried about the edge, baby.
We got Trey Moore. We got Colin Simmons. We good on the edge. Talk about the interior defensive line. How do you think? Who are you looking for to replace our 2 first-round picks? Because they're gonna be first-round picks.
I gotta pull his name up because I heard that he was a standout. God, I can't remember his name.
Alex Collins?
Well, not Collins. I'm talking about the transfer. What is his name?
Trey Moore?
Trey Moore. Thank you. Sorry.
That dude looks insane.
So he looks massive, right? He looks the part, right? The thing is, and there is tape on him. So he was heavily sought out, not only by Texas, but multiple teams in the transfer portal, right? So we know what he can do, and we know what we've seen. I just want to know, of course, the defensive line is see ball, get ball, right? How my thing is how does Trey, how does he handle the heat? How does he handle, the expectations? How does that work out? I just want to see how they mesh. Alfred Collins and Trey Moore, how they mesh. I want to see that. I want to see if he's conditioned because again, transferring from one school to a school in the South in general, whether it be Texas, anything around the third coast, it's a transition, man, because it's a different kind of hot. It's a different kind of hot. So when we roll through spring ball like we are right now, where it's comfortable, right, and it's tolerable, you get your conditioning up. Man, April, it's 90, 85, 90 in April, dog. How are you gonna transition to that?
It is no joke down here. But I mean, the good thing for Trey Moore is he played in San Antonio, so it's not too bad for him. It's actually hotter in San Antonio than it is in Austin. Believe it or not.
You think so?
I lived in San Antonio. It's hot as a bitch.
You lived in San Antonio?
I lived in San Antonio for 6 months, 7 months.
Oh,
but I lived there the entire summer.
I mean,
and it was hot. It was hot as a bitch.
Oh. And so, and what I mean by transition, it's just transitioning from UTSA to Texas is a big step, right?
Big jump. Yeah.
That's a big jump. There's just things that are more readily available to you that you didn't have at UTSA, that you're gonna have at Texas. How does that transition? And I guess that's more from a I don't want to say a personal or just a developmental. I don't know where to put that lining, but is it going to be too much?
Yeah,
for you to handle? We know he's upperclassman. he did great against us. He did, at times.
Dude's an
So
animal.
yeah, dude's massive. So
Yeah.
I just really want to see how he meshes with Alfred Collins again, how he handles being under the lights. The mics are gonna be in front of your face. Like we all know how that goes, dude. Spring ball is a big deal here. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yep.
the open practices that they do have, when they bring in, let the media get up in there and ask questions and stuff. And we'll hear from as soon as any of that information is gonna drop, we're gonna give it to you guys. But that's a big deal. He may not be used to that, being one of the better players at UTSA. I'm pretty sure he's used to it as far as local coverage, but from a national perspective is like gonna be different.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how he transitions. I'm not worried about the off-field stuff with Trey Moore. He seems like a pretty stand-up guy. If he wasn't, he wouldn't be here. I'm very interested in seeing the step up in competition. Going from playing. Obviously, he played very well against us. Not this past year, but last year before that.
Yeah, the year before that, he was killing us.
he can definitely play on the field. But is the SEC, right? I mean, not saying he's not going to do well. I'm just very curious, and that's not a spring ball thing. That's spring ball things you look for. Who's looking fundamentally good? Who's getting into shape? Who's out of shape? Like those are the things you kind of look at during this basically 30-day period, right?
Right.
And you go into the spring game. You're just like, all right, where do guys look fundamentally, right? Can the quarterback set his feet and throw a deep ball? Right? Can a safety read and react when on a play action pass? Or can he, just like simple things like that, right?
Yeah.
There are a couple guys on the defensive line I'm very interested in on the interior.
Okay, from conference to the SEC is a big jump, dog. It
is a big jump. No, I'm not saying it's not, but we're still in March, man. He's got 6 months to prepare for that jump.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
Right now, the jump for him is going from being at UTSA to being at UT, which is again is a big jump in itself.
Yeah.
How does he look on the field? What does he look like? From a preparation mentality standpoint, it's kind of what I'd be interested in.
Right.
And then we'll get to the X's and O's. Once fall camp hits, that's when I'll start looking at like, how does he fit into the scheme? Like all that stuff is there then, right? But we will. I'm very interested in the interior defensive line. Tiali Savea, the new guy that comes in from Arizona, transfer, comes in with Jensen, and then Sadir Mitchell. Who's going to be that guy that takes over for Byron Murphy and Devondre Sweat? That's what I'm very interested in when you talk about position battles.
I think Byron Murphy. I think why am I drawing blanks right now? I think Alfred is gonna be the starter. I think he's number one. Number two is between the transfer from Arizona. I always butcher his name, that's why I don't ever say it. And Trey Moore. That's who I'm really like. That's a very interesting. That could be a really good battle. You know what I'm saying? Like, who do you think has the opportunity to be that number two guy
on the interior defensive line?
Yeah.
Obviously, Alex Collins will be number one. I think it's going to start out to be a rotation, right? I mean, you're going to face Savea a little bit. I'm very interested in Sadir Mitchell, and I'm also very interested to see what Jorey Bledsoe can be, because that's another name that a lot of guys have kind of looked into. Jorey Bledsoe, Sadir Mitchell, and then from there you just don't know, right? What if Vernon Broughton, like this is his fourth year in the program, like what step or what role is he going to take in order to help step up?
Does he have one of those moments like Sweat where not Sweat, Roach?
Yeah.
Where he just kind of pops out of nowhere and just starts performing like a beast. Like, yeah, man, it's interesting, man. I'm excited. I really want to see where, from an interior perspective, where they go.
Yeah. The two positions I'm looking at, and I think one of them isn't necessarily because it's bad or you just don't know, but obviously we stock back up, but you have to keep in mind we lose 70% of our production from this position.
Right.
Wide receiver, right? It's obvious, right? Obviously we don't get oh gosh, I'm gonna forget which one it is. But
so many wide receivers were either rumored to come to Texas, was gonna come to Texas, decided to go somewhere else because they didn't want to battle.
So we don't. So we'll have both. We won't have Bond until the summer because he's the one that's finishing school at Oregon State this semester.
Right.
So we'll wait for that. But Golden is often said to be the guy that's kind of stepped up, been the leader of the receiver group.
Right.
And then of course we've got Matthew Golden. We have Isaiah Bond, who's the guy who's also going to be a guy that's asked to step up. And then, Jonte Cook, he's going to get his opportunity to kind of put his stamp this spring and kind of see where he falls. Is he a guy that's going to play X? Is he going to play Z, or is he going to play in the slot? Coach Stark believes in positionless football in the term. He talks about flexibility a lot. What that means to me is his hopes by the end of camp is all three of those guys will be able to play anywhere, right?
Yeah.
And then you have a guy like DeAndre Moore, who basically is a guy that nobody's talking about. There's so many guys we talk about the main games, right? Bond, Golden, the guy. What I keep forgetting his name.
It's a lot, dude. It's an overhaul. It's a lot of. It is a lot. It is a deep position. Even though we've lost 70% of that production, that's still a very we never really noticed how fast Texas plugged those holes.
Yeah.
Whether it be through the transfer portal, whether it be people going in and saying, "Hey, we're going to commit. We're going to come in and we're gonna, try to compete for a starting job or whatever." Like it all happened so fast, and we know that those windows, especially for the transfer portal, whenever it's the first one and the second one, those don't last for very long periods of time. So for Sark to get in there, for the position coaches to get in there and to scoop up all these guys and talk to these guys and get these guys to transfer in and stuff like that, it's kind of very impressive because there's still teams walking around with kind of like holes, even though a team like who's a great team, a team like Washington. You can take a team like Washington. They've got holes. Not necessarily just from the head coaching position, but just all the way around, from wide receiver to quarterback, and they've gotten some big names. But like they're there. There are holes that are there. So yeah, I can think of Georgia, the tight end situation in Georgia. Like, how do they fill that hole? Like, Brock Bowers is a 1-on-1, dog. You just don't get a bunch of Brock Bowers walking around. You know what I'm saying? Like,
you really don't.
And even with Georgia, you think about Georgia snags Florida's running back. Now Florida ain't got no running back. It's just like, what do you do? Like, you just don't have the experience that you once did back there. So now you got to fill it out, man. It's a transfer portal is nasty. It's real nasty.
Yeah, and as you look at those guys, obviously those guys that we know of now. Now hopefully we can it's the other guys I'm really curious about, right? I'm curious about DeAndre Moore, obviously Jonte Cook. A guy that nobody really talks about is Ryan Neblett. Like what is Ryan Neblett going to do?
Oh,
we are so deep, and you just talked about it. We are so deep.
It's deep, man.
At wide receiver, Parker Livingstone, and you know what? I'm going to be honest with you. And then you got Ryan Wingo.
Damn.
So we have a great problem here, but I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't see Parker Livingstone or Aaron Butler getting a lot of play time.
Really?
I don't think so. So we'll see what happens with that, but I'm pretty sure Aaron Butler and Parker Livingstone don't play this year. I just think there's too much talent, and I think Sark brings them in as developmental guys and guys that are going to develop.
Okay.
So, but I don't think those guys really play this year. Neblet's weird. I would not be surprised if Neblet ends up being a transfer candidate by the end of the spring. Like, again, when you have wide receiver rooms this deep,
right,
there's going to be guys that are not going to be able to play, or they're not going to be able to get time. And it's not that they're not good. It's just the guys in front of them are just so much better.
You think Parker
are willing to fight, compete?
Do you think Parker Livingston transfers out?
I don't. No, not Parker Livingston. Parker Livingston's a freshman. There's no way he transfers out.
Yeah, I'm just asking. I mean, he's a big guy. I'm glad he was recruited.
6'4", almost 200, 195, 200. He's massive. He's gonna be a big Wes Welker for us, and that's kind of how I see him. Because the dude is fucking. He's fast as hell. Yeah, I think he can end up being that type of guy. I mean, look at the rest of this. Receiver room. Freddie DeBow comes in. He's a freshman. Ty Boatwright, who's the guy that came last year. That's a guy that people are curious about. I mean, but yeah, I think I could see Sark using 5 or 6 of these receivers. Golden, Bolden, Bond, obviously, right? Yep. And Cook. And then we'll see what happens after those 4. And you're going to need 5 or 6 for sure.
Right. Yeah.
But Wingo, that's where Wingo, Livingstone, Butler, Niblet. This is where those guys can fight for time, and see what happens there. So, wide receiver is definitely one I'm interested in. I'm also interested in running our linebacker.
Okay.
And we have Anthony Hill. You know, you bring in, and just looking at the linebackers right now, obviously Anthony Hill is gonna play. You bring in Kendrick Blackshire. Where does he fit in? And then Leona LaFau, is he going to get some play time? You bring in David Benda, who's coming back, Maurice Blackwell. You think that's going to be their core, you know, with Anthony Hill, Blackshire, Benda, Blackwell, right?
Right.
Darren Gallett's going to be happy this year, or healthy this year. And that's a guy that played well before he got hurt. So what happens there?
It's deep. That's a D class. That's like
there's a lot of Samaje Burrell redshirt last year, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what is he? Is he going to get any look anywhere? I don't know if Mike will. I'm not. Listen, when it comes to linebackers, I don't know who Mike is. I don't know who Bob is. I don't know who Tracy is. I don't know who any of those guys are. I do know that we have 3 linebackers and we need to play 3, and I don't know what 3 is.
Right.
And obviously, Anthony Hill is going to be transitioned more into a traditional linebacker because he's going to be the guy that's going to be expected to lead this defense. So those are probably the 2 positions I'm looking at. I'm looking at linebacker. I'm looking at wide receiver just out of pure curiosity. Wide receiver is more pure curiosity beyond the top 4. Who emerges? Linebacker, I don't think there's questions. It's just I don't know if there's questions because there's so much unknown in that position.
Okay.
And Benda. Actually, outside of Hill and Maurice Blackwell, I think those 2 guys are set, and those 2 guys are awesome. Benda's a downhill linebacker. I think there's an opportunity, and so is Kendrick Blackshire. He's played a lot of football. So, you know, bring in some experience there. We'll see what happens.
I will say this also. I'm interested to see what Amari Niblack.
The tight end room is going to be interesting too. How do you replace all the production to Taven Sanders?
Niblack is not as big as Jatavian Sanders, right? As far as weight is concerned. height wise, they're he's up there. I think he's like 6'4", something like that. So yeah, I honestly I just want to see what he looks like in this offense in practice. That's
Yeah.
more of a not necessarily a spring training or position battle. I just want to see how he looks during the orange and white game that's happening next month in April. So as we get closer to that, that's definitely something I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, and we'll try to. I'll try to see if I can bring Anwar into the show. I tried to see if I can get a media pass out there. I haven't been able to, but I'll try to see if we can. If I can bring Anwar into the show maybe in a couple weeks and kind of give us an update on what he sees as far as spring training goes. So we'll try to set that up.
Yeah. For sure.
All right, let's talk about 14-team playoff. And actually, I think these next two things are kind of just off-field NCAA updates. Look about this. So the 14-team playoff, we kind of talked about this last couple weeks ago when the 12-team playoff was official, or it was actually a few weeks ago. I'm not going to say 2 weeks ago, a few weeks ago. And then there were rumors about a 14-team playoff starting in 2026 because the 12-team was only good for 24 and 25.
Right.
It has been reported earlier today that it's probably going to get approved in 24 hours. So tomorrow we should hear official word.
It's a lot of news coming out within the next 24. I'd say within the next 12 hours, it's a lot of news coming out.
Yeah, for sure. So 14-team playoff will start in 2026. So all we know is that there's a 14-team playoff.
Right.
We don't know what it's going to look like, and we probably won't for a while. We don't know what how it's going to be determined. We don't know. Did the SEC and Big Ten get a guarantee? We don't know any of that stuff yet. I think it's too early to know that stuff. What we do know is that there's going to be 14 teams in 2 years. So, again, from a Texas perspective, great, more opportunity, right?
We was biting it real close because that deadline was approaching very, very quickly.
Yeah.
We also because I don't think a lot of people realize is that from a standpoint of like as far as contractually, other than these 2 years where the playoffs actually expanded for the first time, after these 2 years, there was nothing. There was no contract. There was nothing, that was set out in stone. So the fact that they were able to get this, and with a fast approaching deadline, I think the deadline was like next week. So the fact that they were actually able to go ahead and nip this in the bud, get it taken care of very early, I'm all for that. I'm really all for that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really know how I feel about 14. I don't think I'm necessarily upset at 14. I just don't know if this is I just think the timing of it is weird.
You already know.
Yeah, I get money.
It's about the dollar bill, dog. And we don't have to talk about.
They went 10 years. They went 12 years before going from 4 to 12.
Right, and we don't even have to. We don't have to. Yeah, of course, we don't have to talk about this right now. But can we talk about in the future in the next couple of weeks? We really need to focus on how the Big Ten and the SEC might be the first two conferences to be like, all right, we out. We're gonna do our own thing because. With this expansion, right now the revenue is split evenly. The Big 12, I'm sorry, not the Big 12, the Big 10 and the SEC have been reported that they want more money than any other conference, and I get it. They do have the best teams in their conference. However, if you take money away from these other conferences, you're going to see a dramatic shift. You might not even see a conference anymore. They're already listen. The ACC is about on this much ice. It is not that ACC is one or two issues away from cracking and dissolving altogether.
I saw something that had,
are you talking about ESPN?
That the Big Ten and the SEC were going to add more schools, and the SEC would add 4. Which would be Florida State, Clemson, Texas Tech, and I can't remember the other one. I need to find this.
There's also rumors about the ACC deal, and again, we could cover this as we get, as within the next couple of weeks, because all of this stuff is like very, very like fresh, and the details about this stuff, especially these deals between like ESPN and the Big Ten and the SEC, all of these, the intricacies and the details about these deals are coming out within the next couple of days, or have been coming out within the last couple of days. So that ACC one is different. Different.
It's all
because,
different outlets, right? It's all different scenarios. They're not tied. They're tied together, but they're not tied together.
right.
Right.
And so when you move that revenue, when the Big Ten and the SEC comes in and say, hey, we want more revenue, which is reports are saying they want 58% of the revenue. 58% of the revenue. That's crazy. Then if you go in and then you take 2 teams, 3 teams, however many teams from the ACC, you don't have a conference anymore. So like, what are you gonna do? How are you gonna shift that around? You know what I mean? Like we already got one conference where teams are on both coasts of the United States. Like it's already nasty right now. So and you, Harish, you said this ad nauseum within the last couple of days. Like, it's not looking good. It's not looking good for the ACC. I definitely think within the next couple of years, the ACC will be gone. Not nowhere to be found.
Yeah, maybe a couple of years for sure. Well, I don't know. I mean, they can supplement, but here's the thing: when you talk about expansion, right? You know, they added schools already. So I mean,
Yes,
they added SMU. They added Stanford.
Yes, Stanford, Arizona.
No, Arizona's going to the Big 12. So they added SMU, they added Cal, they added Stanford, right? There's a whole bunch of schools on the West. Listen, this could be an opportunity for James Madison to jump up quick to the ACC. They're already in the region, right? So there's schools like this that can jump in if the ACC needs to.
But let's be completely honest, though, Harish. How many of those schools are going to be competing for fucking college football? Like how many out? How many
brand awareness, dude? Here's the thing: when you jump to the ACC now with the playoff, when you jump, listen, nobody's going to be there. I'm not going to say they're going to be as big brands like Texas, but there's now 14 spots that people can compete for, and all you need is a chance. So an ACC school, an SMU that sits in the heart of a football recruiting pipeline, literally just digging right into their campus 10 miles away.
Right.
Bro, why do you need to go to the SEC? I get the competition's great. You can go play in the playoff every year. And all you have to do is drive down 35 to 75.
That's true.
You're there in 25 minutes.
Right. I mean,
and now you're playing. Oh, by the way, you play in a major conference too.
I get it. What you're saying is all true here.
SMU knows how to play with dirty money.
Well, yeah, but they're still alive. All their donors are gone.
And they're a private school, bro. They've been waiting to spend their money.
SMU's got money.
I know they got money.
They
used to be a powerhouse. I know they got money. Now they can spend their money legally, dude. SMU is not a school to be slept on. I'm telling you right now. In an NIL era where they can pay, bro.
Speaking of NIL, I might as well transition over to it. Listen.
Let's talk about Nick Saban and Ted Cruz. No, I'm just...
Oh, man. Anyway, the news broke earlier about new NIL updates, right? We got NIL updates. They sent a long, drawn-out thing. I didn't get to read the whole thing, but in layman's terms, you will not have to sit out after transferring.
Yeah. You transfer, you go play.
You transfer, you go play. That's it. Like,
it's basically free agency at this point.
That is what's I get it. It's great for kids, but there's no fear in that anymore. Because remember, it was you got the first one. The first one is on you.
Yep.
The first one's on us, right? Get your transfer, no issues. The second one, gotta sit out. Not so much anymore. Now that's over with. How do you feel about that?
Love it.
You love it?
Love it. Listen, I'm all for the players having the ability, and Coach Ware's not gonna like this, and but personally I don't really care. The ability, the openness, the freedom. I'm all for all that. Listen, colleges, the NCAA, all this crap. They've been holding these players hostages for years,
Right.
making money. Not you're a student athlete, but I'm gonna make billions of dollars off of you. How about you go fuck yourself? Like, honestly, I love it. I'm all for allowing the students to be able to make their own decisions. And guess what? If they make bad decisions, you're 18, you're an adult, you made your own decision. It either worked out for you or it didn't.
So here's the thing, and we're gonna eventually transition over to this as our last segment. I understand why you like it, but I don't like it from a standpoint of let's just say, let's take like Bo Nix, right? Bo Nix was in school for 6 years. He had a COVID, he had a medical red shirt. He was redshirted, so he got those years back, right?
Mhm.
If Bo Nix was still in college, he could just he could have been, and that came into place while he was like a freshman. He could just transfer to 6 different schools with no get back, no pushback at all. I think that's kind of wild. I would not be surprised if there is one guy, and I'm not saying that this is going to happen for everybody, but if it's one guy that's like super dope, right? Whether it be wide receiver, quarterback, whoever, that's like, you know what? I'm going to go play at UCLA, ball out at UCLA. All right, I'm going to Ohio State, balls out of Ohio State, gets the bread, gets more money. They're like, USC's calling. Oh, USC's calling? Oh, y'all want to give me a couple more mil than Ohio State? See ya. Goes to Ohio State. Or I mean, goes to USC. Goes from USC. My best friend just transferred to Alabama, and they got this great team, and they're looking good, and they're looking young. They read up, they're ready to go. They're a couple players away from getting to the national championship. I think I'm going to hightail it from USC to Alabama. So 4 different years. Oh, don't let him get redshirted. Oh, it's a wrap. Don't let him get redshirted. It's a wrap. So you go from UCLA to Ohio State to USC to Alabama in 4 years.
Yeah.
Like what?
I mean, if you're doing that, here's the thing. If you're transferring every single season, then and you think you're trying to be an NFL prospect, bro, that ain't gonna fly in the NFL.
Well, some kid is going to try to do it. If not,
they can try. I think that's the balance to it all. Right?
I believe there'll be 1 or 2 kids that get away. I'm not saying every kid. Notice when I made the premise, I said a stud, like a game record, wide receiver, a quarterback. Somebody's gonna pull this off. And it's
now, obviously, all we know right now, right, is that they can transfer without penalty. We still don't know if there's limits to how many times you can transfer. It doesn't say that there's a transfer limit. All it says is now when you transfer, if you transfer once, you can do whatever. If you transfer twice, you can without penalty. It doesn't say that now you can't transfer after the second time period, right? Or you can't, like, once you transfer twice, you're stuck there. Like, none of that has been determined yet.
Okay, I was asking, is that rule still in place? Because remember, right now
I don't know. I haven't heard.
Once you transfer once, you can transfer a second time. You can't go past that. So we don't necessarily know if that
there's got to be a balance to it, though. I'm sure. Well, I don't want to say I'm sure, because I don't know if they are. I would hope that the NCAA is smart enough to know that there's got to be checks and balances. Common sense tells me there should be. We just don't know what they are yet. All we know right now is that players can transfer without penalty.
Speaking of checks and balances, our last topic of the night. We saved the best for last. I have a small soapbox that I would like to stand on in regards to this. Okay.
Sure.
All right. Nick Saban, not even 2 months, 3 months into retirement. First off, he's got a great tan. Was in front
that dude looks healthy. He looks
great. He looks great.
Wow.
He looks like he's been outside a little bit. Okay. So he's got a great tan. A couple days ago, he decided that he wanted to go and sit in front of the Supreme Court, which I don't want to get on that political thing, but
I don't know what was he? I don't even know why he was there.
So basically, the reason why he was there is because he was saying he had grievances that he wanted to bring to the Supreme Court in regards to saying, hey, you need to get this under control. The NIL. And of course, we knew when Nick Saban, we knew once NIL went into effect, we knew that Nick Saban, and when NIL dropped there, and I have to go back and find this clip from a couple years ago. When NIL dropped, there was a clip of you saying Nick Saban is going to retire, and you said it that like within 1 or 2 years of that NIL going through, you said within 1 or 2 years he was done, and you were right, because Nick Saban can no longer say, I got a guaranteed ticket to the NFL. He can't utilize that anymore. Why? Because of NIL. NIL are making these guys, and not all, we have to preferences, can't state how much. Not everybody is making $1 million. There are probably 10 to 15 in the entire country that are making that type of money, right? And we already know who they are. We don't have to go over. So from there, it leaves everybody else, right? So now everybody else is like, how much you gonna pay me? How much you gonna pay me? How much you gonna pay me? If you're not gonna pay me, I'm finna go somewhere else to get more money. And is that an issue? Absolutely. Is it from if you're TCU, that's an issue, right? Because your boosters, you might have 1 or 2 boosters, but you ain't got boosters. You ain't got boosters like Texas. You don't have boosters like USC. You see it. USC don't got boosters like Texas. The only people that got boosters like Texas is Texas A&M, right? And a couple other schools. Those two schools stand out. Oil Money, Red McCombs, you know how that goes. We can Red McCombs is all over the country. A&M has got some high rollers that when it comes to Oil Money. So Nick Saban can no longer use the NFL as a ticket. He can't no longer just toss a couple $100,000 to a kid and say, hey, I'm going to give you this $100,000, or a booster's going to give you a couple $100,000. You're going to come on down here. It's not under the table anymore. Everything's out in front of you. Now that everything's out in front of you, Nick Saban can't do this anymore. So is he crying? Absolutely. Because a lot of these Alabama players, and we've heard from people like Cam Newton, we've heard from Reggie Bush, we've heard from Keyshawn Johnson. These guys were like the top of the top in college. And they were talking about like how, and this is before NIL, how people were gunning for them and giving them money and trying to buy them. Johnny Manziel. Dude, Johnny Manziel.
Johnny Manziel with that old Netflix documentary on how he got paid.
Johnny Manziel was about to get broke off $3 million to stay.
Just to stay.
Here's the thing. $3 million is crazy.
Yeah. And you know, the other thing that's really funny is the other reason why Nick Saban couldn't do it and he didn't want to do it was because He's been in locker rooms where he's not the highest paid guy. He didn't have control. And you know what happened? He left the league.
Yeah.
He was an NFL head coach. That's basically what college head coaches are about to do. And you know what? Nick Saban wasn't winning when he was an NFL head coach.
No, Chip Kelly. There's a reason why Chip Kelly left UCLA as a head coach.
The same thing, dude. He left a head coach position at UCLA to go be an offensive coordinator because he didn't want to do it.
Said he didn't want to deal with it,
bro. And you know what? He's not. There was a coach at was it Coastal Carolina, Virginia? I can't remember. He left for like an OC position in the NFL. He's like, I'm not doing this. Listen, you got to be a new breed. You got to be a new breed of coach in order to coach in the college these days. You have to be a roster manager. You have to be the GM, unless you hire one. You have to be, everyone's best friend, and you still have to be able to do all that while being a head football coach.
Do you know why? This is why, again, I don't know where Sark is getting his I don't know where he's getting I don't know where he's getting his information as far as I don't know where he's getting his who he's talking to. I don't know if he's talking to Nick. I don't know if he's talking to Pete Carroll. We know how Pete Carroll and Nick Saban were both his mentors. I'm pretty sure he's still talking to them. But you just don't go and make these type of hires that he's making. Nick Saban, not Nick Saban, but Coach Sark recently hired basically a GM.
No, not basically. He hired a GM. He literally said,
basically he's a GM, right? And when you think about it, it makes sense. Why? If this is the route that everybody's going, you need a GM.
We talked about this. Was it 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, when they made that GM hire? There's only 4 schools that have openly announced GM hires. Right. Texas, Ole Miss, Texas A&M, and there's one more I can't remember. Florida State. I don't know. There's another school out there. They weren't important enough for me to remember their name. But there are schools that are getting ahead of this, and those schools have these quote unquote new era head coaches that know what it's going to take to win in college football moving forward. This is a new era of college football. Whether you like it or not is irrelevant. It's happening, and it's exciting fan because there's controversy, right? I like it. I don't like it. It's exciting for the player because now finally they can feel respected. They can feel like the schools are not just trying to get stuff over on them and just say, "Hey, here's $100,000." Listen, that scholarship is great. That free school, the free board, the food. I bet it's awesome.
Yeah,
but y'all are still making 100 times more than what I'm being offered. I might be getting $100,000 education, but I'm Arch Manning. I'm not even playing, and y'all are making 10 times as much on me.
Right. Through jersey
sales.
What
are we really talking about?
Jersey sales and the likewise, they're making it. Again, we don't even have to think about the casual, like us, the hardcore fan. Think about the casual fan. The fact that he just has the name Manning across his jersey is going to bring the casual fan in. So your outreach when you have a player like that, and we don't know what Arch is going to look like. We feel like he's going to be great. We've seen him do great things within a small very small sample size. But we don't know what that guy's going to do. But what we do know is that his family is full of pros. They are mature. They basically grow up learning the role of quarterback. And from there, they basically produce 2 Hall of Famers. I know some people don't think Eli Manning's a Hall of Famer. Listen, when you beat Tom Brady at his height, the way he's done it, and the amount of games that he played prior to him getting sat down for Geno Smith, the dude was an Iron Man, was never hurt, and was always there, right? So, man, I really don't know what else to say like about it, but like the playing field has evened out, and I think Nick is upset about it. Now, do I understand?
100% upset about it.
Do I think there needs to be a commissioner? Absolutely. Do I think that there needs to be?
Needs to be some governance for sure.
I could not. I was looking for the word prior to us getting on the show. I could not have said that more. That was the best way to put it. There needs to be some type of governance. Like you can't not like it's the Wild Wild West right now. It's crazy. It's WWE.
And I think the NCAA is trying to reel it back in. I feel like they're too late, man. They should have been on the top of this 2 years ago. It's too late. It's too late. It is too late to try to provide governance.
What they need is an NIL committee with a commissioner of the NIL, not of the NCAA, but of the NIL.
Well, they'll get that once the Big Ten and the SEC break away.
Well, that covers it about tonight, guys. Look at y'all next week. I mean, you took the words right out of my mouth. Like, there has to be something. It's cute right now, but it can get real ugly here pretty soon. And with Nick said, and that's kind of messed up. I kind of feel bad for Nick because everybody was like, I don't care about none of the development. How much you gonna pay me? Like, it's kind of like,
I mean, that's literally what they said. But it's literally the mentality in the NFL. What are you going to do to keep me on this roster?
Hey, man, I don't know. It's kind of crazy seeing kids that are 19, 18 years old walking around here $100,000 change. But it's like, bro, how many? Think about this. And then we could close this out. Think about how many jerseys Vince Young sold, and he didn't get $1 of it. He didn't get a. Think about how many jerseys Ricky Williams sold and didn't get $1 of it. Earl Campbell sold and didn't get $1 of it. Earl Thomas didn't get $1. Queen Jam, like Aaron Ross, like Roy Williams, like a lot of these guys didn't get my first jersey. Speaking of that, my first Texas jersey or anything Texas memorabilia was a jersey, or I think it was a shirt of James Brown. Do you know who James Brown is?
Running back. No, quarterback.
James Brown was the first black quarterback at the University of Texas.
Yeah.
And you know what's crazy? I saw a lot of number 5s walking around here when I was a kid. That dude didn't get any of that money. So
not a dime. Everybody knew what number it was, but they didn't have Brown on the back.
Exactly.
When Vince Young was here, you saw 10s everywhere.
Hookham still wears 10 now, the mascot.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm just happy. Again, does there need to be some control put in place? Yes. Is the NCAA too late? Absolutely. Do they need to figure out how to come up with some type of NIL commissioner and some type of NIL committee? I absolutely agree. I think there needs to be a level playing board for everybody. Right now, if you just letting it be the Wild Wild West, a lot of teams, let SMU get lucky and start producing some wins. Not necessarily, and I'm not even talking about.
If you don't think SMU's not ready, they've been waiting to get back to this spot for 30 years.
Let SMU go, start winning. 9-3, 8-4,
making the playoff, getting into the SEC championship. Bro, right, they about to take off.
If they get to that point, now you're in trouble.
Yeah,
you got. There's a lot of small schools with a lot of money. There's a lot of small schools with a lot of money that you don't think is small, or that you think is small, but they aren't small. They're big. They got big dollars. Let them start winning. Let them start. He's gonna turn this upside down. Texas might. You know what would be crazy, and this is just hypothetical. Texas could really make their own league with college football. Texas could literally make their own league.
Oh, you mean like the state of Texas?
Yeah.
Easily. We can make a 16-team league just within the state.
Yeah.
And literally call it the Texas League, the Texas Conference.
Right.
Bro, you would have good teams, you would have bad teams, you would have, and bro, the recruiting just within the state nobody would have to go anywhere because everybody's here.
Everybody's here.
Bro,
Texas, you want to go?
That's
Texas
not gonna happen, but obviously
it's not gonna happen. It's hypothetical.
But look at the emergence of Texas State. You look at the emergence of SMU again.
UTSA.
UTSA is coming up. Sam Houston State. Like these are all Division I schools now.
Right.
And U of H, listen, U of H and Sam Houston State in 5 years could be in the same conference.
And you still got teams like UTA.
And a new rivalry will be born.
You got UTA on the backside, and you got UTEP on the backside. Those schools, they get more bigger, they get more popular. We get more people moving.
They will start to have success. The UTA basketball program is starting to have a little bit of success, right? They're in the NCAA tournament. They're starting to get there, right?
Yeah.
Just what, bro? Yeah. Bro, yeah. We thought the difference between 10 years ago and now, and now is crazy, bro. Imagine 2035. My God, no, I'm already saying by 2027, 2028, the NCAA's out. But we'll see.
In closing, what are your thoughts? What are your final thoughts on this situation?
I mean, Nick Saban's retired. Nobody gives a shit what he thinks anymore. That's number one. Number two, stop putting stupid Ted Cruz on the fucking camera because
Ted Cruz can
that dude doesn't even know what football is. He can eat a dick.
That guy can roll right off a cliff with Governor Hot Wheels for all I care.
Bro, don't really care about him. Number three,
the governor can both go.
Yeah, I don't really care what Ted Cruz thinks. He probably had no idea what the hell Nick Saban was talking about. Which is like 90% of our Congress anyway. None of them have any idea what the hell they're talking about or even know what's going on.
Exactly.
Anyway, that's neither here nor there. Yeah, I mean, it's a new era of college football. Like this is literally just how it is. This is what it's going to be,
right?
Moving forward.
And checks and balances.
People were crying and complaining 10 years ago when the SEC expanded. They got over it. People are gonna complain and cry. They'll get over it. Right. It's just what happens. It's literally how life works. So, I mean, it might hurt people's feelings for 2 or 3 years. They'll get over it and then they should move on.
Right. Until there's checks and balances, it's gonna be the wild, wild west out here. Every man for himself. We're gonna continue to see crazy stuff. We're gonna continue to see wild stuff. So that's where we're at with it. So yeah. I don't have anything else. Do you? I think we covered everything.
I've been typing away because the NFL just got really wild while we were on air.
What happened?
So Keenan Allen got traded to the Bears. And Hollywood Brown got traded to the Chiefs. So it opens the door for L'Jarius Sneed to get traded to the Colts. That was the domino they were waiting for. So I'm hoping and praying there's some news on that happening soon.
All right. Well, that's your NFL covers, guys, for the second. For a few seconds.
Hey, tune in Tuesday night is Horseshoe Mob podcast for more. And I think we're live Sunday night this weekend. I don't know who we were supposed to have Glover Quinn last weekend, but he had to reschedule, so hopefully we can have him on soon. And then actually we have a Friday episode tomorrow with the Horseshoe Mob with was it Danny Wallace? I'm gonna butcher his name. We are going to have Wally. He's a guy that's pretty big, Drake Wally.
Okay.
He's a guy that's big in Colts Twitter. So if you guys know Walter Drake, host of the Horseshoe Huddle, join us tomorrow night. We will have him on tomorrow night, and he's a good time. He's a good guy. He's a good guy. And we'll see what happens there.
Sweet.
But hey, Tim, why don't we wrap this up? Let's let everybody know where they can find you.
You can find me at Twitter, at Tim Wayne. Let's talk sports. I've seen some pretty dope college football covers. I'm gonna try to get those put up. I've copied and saved quite a few of them. Maybe over the weekend. Since we haven't had any NCAA college or any college football information just kind of come out, maybe I'll throw those up there, see what people's thoughts are. There's a really dope one with a lot of like past Heisman winners that is making its rounds. I really liked it. So I definitely want to get y'all's feedback. I've seen, of course, a lot of coverage from people that are amazing on Photoshop. From like LSU, of course, there's some Texas ones out there. I've seen a lot of Colorado ones with Shador, one with a lot with Coach Prime. I've seen a bunch of Nick Saban ones out there. So yeah, I've seen some dope ones. So yeah, if you got anything like that, yeah, let us know. Let us know what you think. Yeah.
Cool. And you can find me at the Uncle Gandhi. And obviously you can find us both everywhere. Longhorn LH Fan Battle on Twitter.
Yes, sir.
Longhorn Fan Battle Podcast on TikTok. And you can find us, of course, here at Longhorn Fan Battle on YouTube. Hey, my name's Harish. We'll see you guys next week. Between now and then, be safe. We'll see where we are on Selection Sunday. But yeah, my name's Harish. That's my boy Tim. We out here. Peace.
Till Gabriel.
Go home, touchdown like the end zone.